If you're here today, you are probably thinking, I need a plan for 2026. And you're looking for ideas on how to approach the year coming up. And so I want to share with you today some of my ideas around how to get ready for the new year. It really boils down to just a few key questions that you can ask yourself. What I do is take a notebook, something super skinny. It doesn't need to be a big fat journal or anything. It could be, but for me, I just like something kind of scratch patty. And I just start taking notes. You can do that on your computer if you're more comfortable with doing that, or you can handwrite it. I like to handwrite things because I think it flows more naturally. I'm not hung up on the autocorrect of life in a computer, and I'm on a computer all day. What I would recommend that we do before we get into goal setting later in the month, because I don't think we can really start setting goals until we know the answers to some questions I'm going to bring up. We want to make sure that we are aligned, that we align our goals with some of the areas we're going to talk about. The first thing to consider is what went really well in 2025? Where are some areas where you completely smashed your goals? Are there things that you were like, yeah, that went great. That system's working for me. I want to keep doing that. I want to keep building on what I've learned. You know, list those things out. It's important to be able to go back and reflect on where we've made progress so that we're not always beating ourselves up on where we're falling short. Did you come up with a new system for staying on top of laundry or keeping your home cleaner? Or did you do a really good job staying in touch with your family and friends that are important to you? And you'll know what those things are. They could be goals around your health, around your finances. So, what did you do really well in 2025? What went really well? What made you feel great? And then also put the feelings associated with those things. How did you feel when things went well? Did you feel pride? Did you feel confident? Did you feel organized? Did you feel like things were just in sync? And I think it's important to identify those feelings that you had when things went well. And then the next area is kind of the inverse of that, which is what didn't go so well in 2025? Where did you fall short? You set goals that are important to you, but they just didn't come to fruition, or something derailed your goal, some kind of obstacle popped up, but there are things that you want to keep looking at and maybe refining to get to where you want to be in 2026. So name what those things look like and how did that make you feel when an obstacle came up? Was there something that you could have done differently? Could have we put together some kind of plan in place for what to do if an obstacle arises that's going to take the time away from this? Sometimes we get derailed and we just have to table it until the following year or till the following month or what have you, but not beat ourselves up about it as we're going through the year. So, the third question to ask yourself is what are some things that I did in 2025 that I just want to leave behind? I don't want to keep doing these things. They're not working for me. It was worth the experiment, but no, I'm not doing it anymore. So I think it is important to try things and also have the guts and bravery to try and experiment with new things. And not everything's going to go the way we want it to. And not everything's going to, it could even go the way we want it to. And then it's not what we want, right? So, what are some of the things in 2026 that we want to leave behind? So, for me, I can give a couple of examples. One thing that I want to leave behind is purchasing items that I haven't thoroughly contemplated or discerned where they are going to fit into my life and into my value system. So, I did make some purchases that I regret in 2025. And so, what are some of the things that I can do going into the new year that are going to avoid those things? Another thing is I need to stop not drinking my water every day. This is just a ridiculous thing that I have fallen short on year after year, and I am bound and determined to tackle it. And I've got some ideas about how I'm going to go about doing that and building in a routine that's going to help me and support me in meeting my hydration goals. I truly feel that hydration is the cornerstone for my health. That seems to fix 98% of anything that ails me. So if I can get on top of those two things in 2026, that would be great. So I'm going to leave behind poor sleep hygiene habits that sometimes I fall into, and also any poor hydration habits that I fall into. Now, the final area that I want you to think about and maybe, take some notes down, and it will help us as we go into the more detailed goal planning, is how do I want to feel in the new year? I know for myself, I want to feel rested and energetic. I want to feel healthy and strong. I want to feel confident and alive and creative. So identify those things, those adjectives of how you want to feel in 2026. And then as we start making goals, we can check ourselves. Does this goal actually align with how I want to feel? Or is it going to clash? And if it's clashing, that's a red flag to not make it a goal. So those are the areas that I want to focus on this week with you. And I'm excited to hear what you have in store or what you are thinking about. If this was helpful, if you have any ideas you want to share with everybody, that would be great too. The main areas I want to focus on in my life are around health and energy, financial clarity, my relationships, my home and environment, and work and creativity. With those 5 areas covered, I think we can have a nice holistic view of how we want to feel and what we want to accomplish in the new year. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. Bye. So when I start thinking about my goals for 2026, I will break down focus areas into 5 major categories, and that would be health and energy, and then financial, and then work and creativity, and home and environment, and finally relationships. So from there, I can start doing kind of a mind map of things that come to mind. So, for example, with work, I want to set some targets. I'm in sales, so I want to set targets. I want to also, in terms of creativity, I want to actually be able to, like, maybe identify the top 3 things I want to spend time on this year. And then in financial, I want to audit my 2025 spending. I want to set a 2026 budget. I want to have some financial goals for spending, etc. And name my money philosophy. And then for health and energy, first and foremost, I like to set my annual appointments that I need to take into account. So, those would be like my annual physical, my dental appointments, my eye exam, those types of things, my annual mammogram. I also like to sign up for any classes I want to be taking, like Pilates. And then from energy, I really want to look at sleep and how to improve my sleep hygiene. And then for home and environment, maybe areas to declutter in Q1, name projects that I'm thinking about, name some home projects that I'm thinking about achieving. Given that I'm in a rental right now, that does change my mindset. And then with relationships, I like to have a chance to set up some reminders for birthdays, special days. I like to schedule for myself outreach to my elders. So my relatives and family friends that are in their 80s and 90s, I really like to take a special effort to reach out to those folks once a month. So I set aside a time every month to do that. I also like to have some intentions around the interactions I have with my daughters. So I just call my daughters the girls. And I have done different things like with our family chat. I have had a little series of posts that I commit to doing every day. Maybe it's something inspirational that I put on our family post every day, or I try to ask a certain kind of question for a while and see if it triggers some good communication with the three of us. And then I also like to have individual time with both of them. And then any trips that I'm going to take to see them, or for them to see me, or for us all to spend together. And then I also have my partner and what kinds of trips. And we have a weekly date night kind of tradition. How do we want to spend that night? We typically have been going out to dinner, but are there other things that we could be planning ahead? Are there concerts we want to go to, or things that we would like to try doing? We do all those things, but just trying to be intentional again about how we spend our free time together and make the most of it. So those are some just big areas that I like to think about. Work and creativity. I would also put under here is self-development, books I'm going to read. I usually have a list at the beginning of the year of books that I have been setting aside as I finish up the year previous books that I had to get through. And so I will identify a list of books to read for myself. The financial, if there's other things that come to mind, I just keep adding on to this kind of mind map, if you will. And this is just phase one. Later, we can get into more details around how we're going to go into some of these areas and maybe have some methodology around what can make ourselves healthier. Oh, another one I want to put on here is hydration goals. Because if I don't intentionally set hydration as a goal, I won't necessarily be focused on it. So that's one thing. And then also my supplements. I like to do kind of an annual review of what I'm taking. Is there something that I want to add in? That sort of thing. And yeah, so this is a starting point. And this is something that I like to do maybe once a quarter, just to kind of look at big batched areas of life, health and energy, looking at what's sustainable versus setting unrealistic goals. With financial clarity, I want to really have intentional choices and, also have a respect with the financial decisions that I'm making for the future me. And then work in creativity, elegant systems and protecting focus time for those things. For example, the YouTube channel, that was something that's been on my list for several years, and it's taken several years to get to this point. But now I need to make sure that I set aside and invest in myself to really make this successful. So I could even just put YouTube here as an example. And there's so many different aspects of that will take up some time. I also have another project, which is my dollhouse from childhood that my grandfather made for me that I want to remodel. It's extremely dated. And it might be cheaper to remodel my dollhouse than to do a complete overhaul of my actual living space. So I've thought about doing that for a few years, and I might actually have time to do it. Another thing that I really enjoy in terms of home and environment, I love organizing also. So organization, not for the sake of it, but what's going to make me more efficient and get me in a place where things just flow easier, where I'm not fighting upstream. I moved into the home that I'm in now after downsizing my family home that I had been in, with my two children. We had accumulated almost 30 years of possessions, and I was in a very large home, 5-bedroom home, 5,000, 6,000 square feet. And now I'm in a 2,000 square foot townhouse, which is still significantly large, but I do feel like I'm bursting at the seams. I haven't decided if I'm going to stay in a renter's type of situation or if I'm going to purchase another home at some point. The market is so bizarre right now. I'm just not sure what I want to do, but I was able to sell my family home at a good time. And so I have no pressure to make a decision there. How can I make it work for me? It's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but what kind of changes can I make that will make life easier and just things to flow and be more efficient? And then finally, relationships. Again, having fewer trivial, I would say, obligations. And I've done a good job of that over the years. I have really trimmed back what I say yes to. So I feel pretty solid there. And just trying to be very intentional about nurturing the relationships that I have and forming new relationships, because I did move to an area about, gosh, it's been almost 15 years now since I left my home state and moved to the Midwest. And now I am, my children are grown. I'm in a new phase of life with empty nesting. Over the last couple of years, I've really focused on trying to find and develop friendships with women in this area, because I think it is so important to have good girlfriends. And so with those friends that I have now, I want to really invest time in those relationships. And whether that's meeting for coffee once a month or going out to dinner once a month or just sending a text to touch base with them, let them know that I'm thinking of them. Those are the kinds of things that are important to me. And then also how to meet even more new people. I've started thinking about that as well, because community is so important for longevity. So those are the things that I've been playing around with. I hope this is helpful for you. Maybe you can do something similar. This is very low tech, right? We can get into how to leverage some technology in the next phase. Go back and answer those questions that we discussed previously. What went well in 2025? What didn't go so well? What are you leaving behind? And how you want to feel in 2026, and then maybe break your life into major life categories. This might be completely different for you, depending on where you are at in your phase of life. Brainstorm. There's no pressure. Anything that you put on this list, you're not obligated to. So Don't be afraid to throw something out there that's maybe a long shot in your mind today, or something that just seems like, should I put that on there? Should I not put it? Go ahead and put it on there, because you can determine later whether or not that's something you really want to pursue. So I wish you good luck, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and we'll talk more in the new year. Well, Happy New Year. It is January 1st. This video is ready to be uploaded, but I'm going to do something maybe a little differently than some of the other videos that are out there. I'm going to wait until Sunday to post. I do not believe that there's something magical about January 1st that makes dreams come true. And in that regard, I think it's really important that we can acknowledge that our goals might change at any moment, and we can reassess at any time during the year. It doesn't make us failures to decide, I decided I don't want to work out 6 days a week for 45 minutes a day. Whatever the goal is that maybe you set for yourself and later determine that's not going to work for me. So that's okay. Or maybe you identify a new goal that you want to chase after and it's April or August. That's fine. We can work on this consistently. And that's part of the mission of this channel, is to continuously evaluate and look at our lives and figure out the things that are going to make them lovely. We want to have a lovely life plan in place, and it's a fluid plan, right? It's a living, organic plan that's going to change, grow, shrink, do all the things over time. So thank you for being here. Please leave me comments below, and I will also put in the description the areas of life for the mind map so that you have those in case you want to do the same thing. Until next Sunday, have a great week ahead. Bye.